how much should I charge for custom t-shirts is probably one of the most requested questions, if that makes sense. I think this comes down to the fact that we have been talking a lot about starting a business, about the different types of blank apparel you can get. We have been talking a lot about transfer types and the differences between them. But I think, it's a good idea to break down the costs of each thing from like a rough ballpark figure, because obviously every t-shirt's different depending on whether or not you're going from a good, better or best option. Prices will be different. Like you've just touched on there, scalability for transfers, those prices will be different because the more you order, the less you're paying.
Yeah.
But as a generic piece of advice for a decorator in 2025, what would you recommend, or how does someone go about figuring out how much to charge?
I think it covered a lot of it there with pricing. Is like, okay, well, first things first is how much it costs to produce the t-shirt. That's the first thing to consider. So t-shirt, transfer, packaging it's going out on, if that's relevant, any paperwork that's going in it, it's still a cost to you. If you're printing a piece of paper, it might be 3p, but it's still a
3p
cost.
3p times 100.
Yeah, exactly. So everything that goes into it, depending on how you're paying off the machinery. So if it's a heat press, you pay that on a daily rate, or whether it's all just paid and you're happy with that. You don't want it to be included, but like break down things like even like the electricity and everything it takes to run a business needs to be factored into the sort of the production of a t-shirt. Really, if you can break it down per time, or if you're starting out, you're going to have to put more of that cost into each t-shirt because there'll be less of them.
Yeah.
So you've got to, what is my cost of a t-shirt? And then really you need to think about, it's adding a percentage on there because you want to make some profit from those.
Yeah.
Because you need to make the profit to have the cash flow to buy the next set of t-shirts and transfers or whatever it could be. So figure out what the cost of the t-shirt is and then try and add like 30-50% onto that at least. And have like a minimum amount you're comfortable getting. And if you don't get that amount, they'll probably walk away from those jobs anyway. But then it really comes down to who is the customer that you're offering it to, because you can change that depending on what type of customer it is. If you're just making one t-shirt for a plumber around the corner from you, then probably there's less profit in that. But it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It's probably an easy job.
It's good word of mouth for business.
Yeah, but if you're doing it for like a bigger business that's not far from you, and perhaps they're in tech or something a little bit, I guess, a higher perceived wage brackets in the building perhaps, and what they're prepared to pay for a garment is different. So I would start higher and try and stick there as well. But also, you're also probably going to be using different garments for those people. So find the true cost of what it takes to manufacture something, add a percentage you're comfortable to make some profit. If you go higher than that, go higher, because most of these people don't know how much it costs to make a t-shirt.
Nope.
They know what they would pay at retail for a t-shirt. So if you can match that quality, maybe you can start there, or maybe you probably have to bring
slightly
it down. Yeah. But most people's version of what they think it costs is somewhere between, I don't know, Primark and wherever, but you've got to try and pitch it somewhere.
You're trying to think of another retailer.
Trying to think who is the best like top end high street retailer that you'd be like.
For quality, probably like, I don't know. It depends, because sometimes they're great and sometimes they're really bad.
Yeah, but let's say it's like £40 to £80 for a high end t-shirt, right?
Yeah.
So
you're probably like All Saints, Uniqlo, those kind of places.
Yeah, that's probably a good place to. So you're probably not going to charge most of your customers £40 for a t-shirt, but it doesn't hurt to offer them a £40 t-shirt and a £20 t-shirt, but you're still making £10 in the £20, and even then have maybe like a £10 or a £12 t-shirt that you could still make £6 in each one, £7 in each one. That's why we talk. That's why everyone that comes on this podcast talks about good, better, best. I would say that's because people like things in threes.
Gives them options.
Yeah, you've got to give people the options. You've got to show them don't be afraid to show them the expensive stuff. Even if they say no, it doesn't really matter. you offered it to them. Some of them will say yes.
Also, I think it plants the seed for the future. If they ever do anything where they're like, oh, we need a smaller run, but the t-shirt that Andy showed us in that last meeting was really nice. Maybe we just get less of those, or it might lead to another order.
Yeah, or they have a special event that they're going to and they want to dress accordingly. But don't be afraid to offer those options, but do offer them options. Something that people are guilty of is offering an option and then
like one alternative and that's it.
Or even just one. Like, that's not enough, because that's not how people's brains work. If you were to offer them a few options, they'll either pick one because they really like it, or it gives them enough to think about so they'll know exactly what they do want.
Yeah.
That's the way to look at it, is you got to make sure that they can make the choice with what you're offering. So I'd say look for the price of the true cost, and then add a percentage, and then have a few different options where that percentage can be higher and higher in each one.
Yeah.